Hello, this is RPGNate
and RPGDad, and well, we didn't finish off the last season, but we're going to start off with a new season, Hoard of the Dragon Queen, which is the actual official launch season for D&D Next.
Yes.
The player's handbook's out.
Yeah, I think it's actually called 5th edition now.
Yeah, 5th edition, whatever. But the actual player's handbook's out. The book, Hoard of the Dragon Queen, which I'm not real pleased that they're releasing now. Like, they started doing the Encounters materials to the public, but that's my own gripe. People listen.
I don't like that any person's able to buy it.
I don't like that any player at my table can pick it up and then cheat and have knowledge at the table. That was the thing with Encounters before. I know there are people that whined, "Oh, I want to be able to get the stuff." Well, tough shit.
Buy it off eBay if you want so bad.
Yeah, tough shit. It was Encounters. Now it's just everybody can play it, so I'm not that fond of this.
I think if they're going to do it, Encounters should get it, what's it called, exclusive?
Yeah.
And then once Encounters is done with it,
then release it to the public. Yeah, but it shouldn't be concurrent. But anyway, we started that. We started last week on Saturday. I decided we'd hold a player generation day and let people come and generate characters.
Yes.
My only rules are you've got to have a player's handbook, because I can't have one player's handbook with a table full of people and try to float it around. So if you wanted to generate a character using the player handbook and have any class, any and all the stuff, you had to have a player's handbook.
Yes.
Otherwise, you bring the free rules you can download. People may think it's a dick move, but I only wanted to spend like 2 hours generating characters, not all day. And we had probably 25 people show up to generate characters.
Yeah. It
was a lot of people. So we would have been all day if we only had a couple of DMs, had their books, and then they had to share them with everybody, especially with the new generation rules. Under the beta, you were generating characters in like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was a lot more difficult than before, mainly because they made backgrounds a lot more complicated to make.
Well, the backgrounds and stuff really created some what the fuck moments for me.
Yes.
All right, your sister, when she was generating a character, she's rolling on one of the tables, and for all the background stuff, and the first thing that she rolls up is insatiable desire for carnal pleasure.
Yes.
And my 11-year-old daughter says to me, "What does that mean, Daddy?" And I said, "It means roll again."
Yes.
What does it mean? It means roll again. We're not going any farther than that. Here's to Wizards. What the fuck? Why would you put that shit in there, especially a game you're marketing to adults?
Let's see.
You're marketing it to children.
So what
does the book say on the front?
It doesn't have it there. So I don't know if it actually has it in here. But normally with the game it has stuff like that. It might actually be on the player box, which I don't know where that is.
But the player box doesn't matter. This is the handbook. If it's going to be something where they're putting adult stuff in it, then market it to adults and don't encourage children to come to Encounters, generate characters, and randomly roll on a table that I have to say, "I'm not explaining that to you." Yes. Or the parent sitting there doesn't have to say, "You should probably roll that again, sweetheart."
And then end up losing a player because D&D is stupid.
You know, I understand that there are probably a lot of people out there that this is as close as they get to a sexual encounter as through role play, but you don't have to add that shit to the game.
No, that's something that if you're into that stuff, you add that by yourself.
Yeah, really. Or there's that, I forget the name of the game, it was like 1,100 pages where they had everything from penis size to the size of your tongue and everything else. I mean, it was totally twisted thing that only the most warped individuals would get into. Well, but if you're really, I forget the name of it. I looked at it once, I was like, this is so messed up, it's unreal. But if you're into that stuff, then do that, or have your own campaign at home. But this should not be in the books. I have a real issue with it.
I was going to ask, is it Pathfinder for some reason?
No, it's not Pathfinder. But, you know, let's talk about Hoard of the Dragon Queen.
Yes.
How did it open up?
Well, it opened up with the players approaching the village greenest. We had everybody roll on the random table of backgrounds. I ended up having some people re-roll so that I had a variety of backgrounds instead of the
I had
same
to have
repeating.
one re-roll so we didn't overlap.
I had it for like every other person that I did.
Yeah.
But, God.
And then I used that. that gave them their hook. You're
Yes.
coming here because you're looking for whatever dragon killed your family that you have scars left on your body for, or the dragon called had murdered your family, or some crazy stuff like that, and you're there to hunt them down.
Yes.
And you all met on the road, and then I had my characters introduce each other at the table. Did you do that?
They had been talking about their characters before, so they had a general knowledge of what each other was.
See, I like to have the characters do a formal introduction at the beginning.
Yes.
But the rolling for the backgrounds and stuff and the introduction took about 15 minutes.
Yes.
And I figured we'd need that because they're talking, 15 to 18 weeks for this thing. Even if you use the book, it's rather light. So it's going to be a ton of random encounters in each section. And I'm not a real fan of having to throw in a ton of random encounters at people to be able to burn up 2 hours.
Yeah.
That was... 4th edition had its issues, but I knew an encounter would last 2 hours, maybe an hour and 45, and we'd be done.
An encounter in there had a lot more stuff going on instead of, I swing my sword, next round. I swing my sword.
Or move and I swing my sword.
Yeah, you actually had to think about what you were doing because it had multiple at-will powers that you could use, even for the fighter classes and stuff. Because each one had its unique effects, and you would think, what do I want to do to this monster?
Well, see, the simplicity of 5th edition doesn't bother me. I do like it because it speeds up combat, but the sped up combat becomes an issue when you have an extremely light adventure.
Yes.
I mean, this book comes in at 100 pages. If you buy it, it was like 36 pages for the download. And neither one really provides enough information. And another issue that I had is if you buy the book and spend the money, you figure with 100 pages the difference would provide you with the monsters. You still have to download a supplement off of the website, and they're not providing you everything you need. So, Wizards is they're really screwing up because they're not providing everything in the printed materials that they should.
Yeah.
But that seems to be the modus operandi of Wizards lately, where they've gone totally batshit crazy.
I think that's a mistake because while we may not like Pathfinder, it is definitely something that people will look to if they start seeing the flaws in this.
Yeah.
And considering that is right now their biggest competitor, they're going to start gaining business from Wizards because people are going to start dropping when they see the flaws in the book. I mean, people were reading through the player's handbook and seeing holes in the rules because they didn't fully fill it out.
Yeah. And there was some stuff they put in there that was just stupid, like some of the background stuff that was not necessary. The idea of the backgrounds is good; it gives you something role playable. But some of the stuff they put in there was just freaking retarded.
The issue I have with the backgrounds is you used to be able to make your own background,
but
now, I think they give you a set of things that you could do, and then you could pick a trait from one of the backgrounds that were already made.
But let's look at it realistically. Yeah, you could do your own background. How many players actually did it?
I know at Encounters not many people are going to do it, but I think at home people would like to be able to.
But I mean, some people might not. I mean, it requires it really does require imagination. I know it's a role playing game, and some people they just want to role play, and the whole imagination thing is a stretch for them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think they should have the option to do so. The pre-made backgrounds are completely fine. They should have those. But I think they should also implement the option to create your own, which I did not fully see that. I read through the backgrounds. I might have missed it.
It said in there that you could, or you could change stuff. But in a way, I like the random roll for the different traits and stuff because it can create a totally crazy character that somebody's going to have to role play and have fun with.
Yes.
So that's a good thing. I just have issues with some of the stuff they put in there that is absolutely unnecessary. I mean, some of the stuff was totally psychopathic that they put in there. I mean, I shouldn't have had to have that conversation at character generation.
It sucks because it even decides your alignment, so you can't even align your own character.
Yeah, I mean, there is an issue. And if you have somebody that's a good character and they roll one of the evil traits, then just
like a paladin.
Let them re-roll. Because a paladin won't have one of the traits, I enjoy killing people in their sleep. What the fuck?
Yeah.
There's some crazy shit in there. And, I mean, it's almost like some of the stuff I'm reading in there, it's encouraging totally sociopathic behavior at the table, and I already have enough of that.
Yes.
I don't need any help from Wizards to make the players even more crazy than they already are.
No.
You know, we've discussed in other things. My table, I don't really have an issue with. I've got good players. They're there every week.
Well,
they play well together. But my table is a firm six.
Your
that
table
I always have.
always has the same people. Sometimes you're missing one or two, so you'll have people sit in. But generally, because you have a majority of people that actually know what they're doing, the people will kind of adapt.
They'll adapt to the play.
Yes.
But like some of the other tables, when they like your table can go either way.
My table has, I think,
even some of your regular players have potential to just go batshit crazy.
Yes.
But
we repeatedly have issues with people saying inappropriate things at a store that's supposed to be for family.
Oh, and for the people out there that got all bent out of shape because I said saying things in front of women and children, here are 2 words for you. Fuck you. You need to be respectful of all the players at the table.
Yes.
Regardless. And
wait, people got angry at that?
Yeah, somebody got angry. Oh, I shouldn't have to treat women with kid gloves and that kind of stuff. No, it's not a matter of treating them with kid gloves. It's a matter of don't say something at the table that if you were at your job, you would be escorted out of the building by security and fired for. There's a reason that those rules are in place in the rest of the world, and they're also in place at the store. And I'm going to tell you this much. If you played at our store, the owners there, if they heard you say that kind of stuff, would escort you out and say, don't ever come back. Because they don't want that. They want it to be a family-friendly environment. Yes, I cuss in my podcast and my things.
Cussing is different than sexually harassing somebody.
Exactly, and these people don't get that. But the people that are complaining about me saying that are probably the ones that would do the sexual harassment of the women at the table.
If you're socially inept, you just shouldn't comment on the video because it is talking about you.
Or sit next to an 8-year-old and say, I skull-fucked your mother to the lich while it's sitting there. That's a person who's socially retarded and shouldn't be sitting at the table. And if you think it's okay for him to say that next to an 8-year-old, it's not his child, then you're a fucking moron.
Yes.
So, I mean, there are things you do and don't do. But let's get back to the encounters and go ahead and get this done.
Yes.
So, the groups, and all tables, that's one thing. We didn't have a schizophrenic thing going on where every table's doing something different. This time, everybody's doing the same thing.
Well, yeah, in the general, sometimes it's a little bit different.
Well, they might do different missions, but they're all going to do the same thing, the same 7 missions throughout this thing.
It'll be nice because, once again, you'll be able to go from one table to the next and be in the same general area.
Now, here's an issue that I saw. We'll talk about this encounter, and then this is another big issue that we're going to have this season. The whole encounter is you're approaching a town called Greenest.
Yes.
And there's a dragon flying over. There's basically an army laying siege to the town.
Yes.
And you've got to get into the town and see what's going on because you were coming here thinking it was going to be a dandy place, and apparently it's not.
Yeah.
So to try to add some time to it, because I knew that even with the one encounter we were supposed to get done the first night, that I needed a little bit of run from where they saw the attack to where they decided they were going to do the river because they figured that was a way to sneak in because you couldn't go through the front gate. There's a freaking dragon flying there. Would have been awesome if they did because they'd all be regenerating characters this week. Yeah. But they went to the river and I gave them 2 randoms. So the 2 randoms went, one random was people running from the town, and it's like they're talking to the people and they had a conversation with them. What were your and then the other was, I think, some kobolds and cultists. Everything's kobolds and cultists, it seems like.
Yeah. I think there's kobolds and a drake.
Okay.
Yeah. My randoms, I got the kobolds and a drake. I think all kobolds and then cultists and a guard. But it was like 2 cultists shanking a guard and, 6 people walking up to the cultists, an intimidate check got them to stand down.
So, you have your randoms. They're generally the same.
Yes.
Now, once you got to the town, the very first thing that happened was there's a family running. You see some kids, you see a father, and then you see apparently the father's a wuss because the woman's standing there with a spear and shield.
Well, no, the father was more injured than the woman.
Yeah, I think he was just a wuss. But she's doing the fighting of a group of 6 kobolds, or was it 8? It was a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So
I think she was a guard of the family.
No, she was still a commoner, but they gave her 8 hit points.
That's a very strong commoner.
But you came in, and the whole thing was to try to save her, save the family. So my party came in. She got down to 4 hit points. She got hit once. I was rolling horrible on Wednesday. And they saved her, and then she told them the only safe place was the keep. And the party decided to escort them to the keep.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, you had to have 3 random encounters, and they would either be, there were kobolds and cultists.
Yes.
And you had to roll a d6 and a d4. D6 for kobolds, d4 for cultists. If you rolled a d6, you had a drake or something in there. So they ended up having the 3 things. You could either try to evade them, and if you failed your checks, then you're going to fight them anyway.
Yeah.
Or you could fight them. Well, my group opted to fight all 3 groups. They ended up with the 1 rogue going down to 0 hit points. So we've burned 1 heal spell to get her back up. And we don't have a healer. All we have is a paladin.
Who's a rogue?
Your sister.
Oh.
We had 2 rogues, but one of the rogues went down. So we got through those 3. They get to the keep, and that was pretty much the end of it. But everything was randoms, kobolds, and stuff like that. The table enjoyed it, and it was fun to run, but I'm hoping, and I know some of the encounters coming up are going to be a little better, especially the last one.
Of this section?
Of this section with the Dragon Champion. It's just going to be freaking hilarious. But we'll leave that for when we get to it. It's going to be funny as hell. But what did your table do? I know you skipped the 3 randoms when you met the family.
We did the 3 randoms. They met the family. They did that combat because the family was the first thing that they did, right? So they then do the 3 randoms up to the keep, and then they get into the keep because I think they dodged past all 3 because they either stealthed or intimidated. Like
well,
I said,
intimidated is going to cause a fight. You're not going to intimidate out. Your options
no,
were
it was
stealth.
It was 2 cultists, and it was just 2 cultists. I figure they're smart enough to stand down.
Well, you shouldn't have had just 2 cultists. It should have always been kobolds and cultists. You rolled 1 die for each.
No.
So you screwed that up.
No, I rolled off the random encounter table that was in the...
Yeah, there was a thing specifically in there that you had to do that with the cultists and the kobolds, and they were always going to run into groups of those.
Oh.
So you could have had 3 solid combats and eaten up your time. I know you then went to another one.
Yeah.
Which is going to screw you up.
Well, it was a semi-short one, so... then they got to the keep. They spent like 15 minutes talking to the... whatever his name is.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's like Night Haven or something. I don't know. And then they went into the sewers. Or not the sewers, really. But it was a tunnel underground, and they found a rat swarm.
Yeah, the old tunnel.
Yeah, the old tunnel. They found a rat swarm. They killed that because you're not talking out of rats. And then they exited the tunnel, and they got into that combat, and they killed him, and that was the end of the night.
So my group will start with the old tunnel because they have to secure that, and that's their way in and out. And then we'll pick up from there. My issue with this whole module is supposed to take 5 to 6 weeks for the first section. We have 7 encounters in this total.
Yes.
Some of them are short where you're not going to be doing much of anything, and you're going to be done in 10 or 15 minutes. So, I mean, and here's another issue. If you did all those combats with all the kobolds and cultists and all this other stuff, and plus you add in saving all the townsfolk where you're getting 50 experience points for every one of the townsfolk you bring in and all this kind of stuff, that's a ton of experience. I think one table gave out 165 experience per player already. You can only give out a maximum of 300 in the first section, and then they're done. So you're going to be giving out 0 XP for weeks if you don't scale back your XP.
Yes.
And I already knew that, so I scaled my XP back. And then one DM's, I gave out 165. I'm like, you can't be doing that. You're going to be done and cap out your table because you cannot leave this. You leave this at second level. You don't get to second level during this section.
I think I ended up with 112 XP.
Yeah, so you're really going to have to scale it back. And honestly, I think it's going to be a bad DM that lets them halfway through this section become second level. Then they're going to overpower the section, and you're going to have to start bumping monsters up. And it becomes boring when they're not fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my characters right now have to think about their spell usage. They have to think about everything they do and not just play stupid.
Well, my characters are playing stupid either way.
Yeah, it happens. But my table's actually, and your sister's actually gotten awesome about thinking about what she's doing.
I have my 2 regulars that are actually decent players. They are playing smart. And then I had a paladin last week that's native to Pathfinder.
And he was loud. I heard everything he was doing.
Yeah, and he just blew almost all his lay on hands on
healing NPCs. Yes. That was dumb as shit.
When
And you don't get a long rest because this all happens in one night.
The cleric is sitting there and using his Spare the Dying, so they're stabilized.
That's all you have to do. One hit point. One hit point.
It's 0.
One hit point.
It's actually up to 0 now, but it's stabilized.
Yeah. Well, they'll wake up.
Yeah.
But it's just really, it's up to 0 now.
Yeah.
Wizards, fuck you.
So
Spare the Dying should be 1 hit point, and then you're just a minion.
I guess the wife and the husband did need to be brought to 1 hit point, but the 0 hit will end the guard. Otherwise, they all would have died. So.
But I mean, that's stupid.
It's kind of, I guess it was kind of necessary, and he was playing the paladin correctly since they were at 0 hit points and they weren't getting up.
It doesn't matter.
So
you had another player there that had the medic or whatever, and they could stabilize them.
Yeah, stabilize only brings to 0.
It's okay. They're not going to die.
But they're just going to lay there and get stabbed to death by cultists.
It doesn't matter. It's stupid. Spare the Dying should bring them up to 1. You know, again, it's a case of Mike Merles and his team being idiots and not freaking building the game properly.
No.
But it just infuriates me, some of the design things that they've done with this. But honestly, as long as the players are having fun, that's all I can ask for.
Yeah. I think they agree with some stuff that's stupid, but for the most part, they're enjoying it.
Well, make do with the system you have. I mean, that's what we did with 4th edition. I came in with a hate on for it because it was like WoW.
Yeah. Well, you played WoW and you enjoyed it, so it wasn't that big a deal. But
you touch a living creature that has 0 hit points,
and it becomes stable. And stable is just it's 0 hit points, but they're not making death saving
Well,
throws.
see, that it's vague.
Yeah.
I mean, becomes stable could be 1 hit point. I mean, it doesn't say it brings them to 0 hit points. You can just say it making them stable brings them to 1 hit point. That's what I would do with Spare the Dying. It's not saying it brings it to 0, and the fact that the retarded fucking writers couldn't be any less vague than they are, that's how I would play it.
Yeah.
So let your cleric know that Spare the Dying will bring it, because it says creatures with 0 hit points become stable, and make stable become 1 hit point.
I think he read stable in the rules. I don't know. I'll have to read it as well, but
I would house rule it.
Yeah.
I honestly would, because that is stupid.
But I think we have to close it out now.
Yeah, we do.
If you enjoyed this video / podcast, whatever he makes it.
It's going to be a video with a little tag on it and on YouTube, because I'm not using our podcast thing anymore because I'm tired of spending money.
Well, please like, favorite, and subscribe. Click on the link in the description to go to the blog, and there's even more stuff where we write.
And if you don't like me condemning antisocial people that don't know how to speak to women and drive them away from the game, which is the exact opposite of what players should be doing, we should be a welcoming group that make it comfortable for people to sit down and play instead of being a bunch of geeks who have never actually seen a woman in real life, and when you see them you flip out and you say stupid shit. If you're one of those people, fuck you and don't subscribe. I don't want to hear your comments.
Well, that was fun.
I know. I'm just furious about that set of comments from those people, because people cry and cry and cry. Oh, there are not enough women in the hobby. It's because of people just like you.
Yeah. Check out our video games channel, Red Boy Games. We'll put a link in the description for that. And maybe. Well, you'll do it. Because there are 2, because I don't know why. But anyways, thanks for watching again, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.